If you had to go up against Mother Nature on crack, what would you do? You're gonna have to juggle battling forest demons, brutal samurai guys, and just plain old baddies, using nothing but innocent children as weapon, a 500-year-old book on power banned by the Catholic Church. I'm gonna break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat the forest spirit in Princess Mononoke. This kid has no idea he's about to be infected with a horrifying killer disease that will set him on the adventure of a lifetime. Ashitaka here is a noble prince for his people, the Eboshi tribe, unaware that a flesh-eating spirit god is on his way to town. Rushing back from a patrol mission on his trusty sidekick Yakul, he quickly warns his people that something horrifying is coming their way, but he doesn't know what. Reaching this scouting post, he teams up with this soldier, taking out his bow. Suddenly a demon blasts out from the forest, shocking Ashitaka to the bone. This boar is possessed. It crashes into the scouting post, forcing these two to helplessly watch as it heads straight towards his precious village. Getting on Yakul, he dashes like the wind, but the scout tries to warn him to not touch the cursed spirit no matter what, or else. But that was Ashitaka's biggest mistake. Closing the gap, he sees these little kids about to get devoured, and Ashitaka fires a single arrow to distract it, and this causes the demon to fire a ranged attack at him, striking his arm and him wincing in pain. He shoots a final arrow into the demon, putting it down for good, saving the day, but then he realizes that, whoops, he just messed up. He's now been cursed. And the village shaman rushes over to pay respects to the boar god, but the demon inside tells him that soon all of humanity will feel its wrath, including Ashitaka and the people he loves, now and in the future. Okay, Ashitaka here was dumb as bricks, the way his prince bud acted. If I was him, I would have saved everybody the trouble by letting some of the jobless loser taxpayers die a horrible death. Let me explain. So this local village contains a dying tribe and means they're pretty much toast. But if they're toast, then maybe they should have fortified their villages a little more since, well, let's be honest, most peaceful tribes in history, unfortunately, usually get absolutely slaughtered. They should have structured their village more like the first common castles before the 10th century, using wood, and would have featured a very lovely palisade and a wooden tower with a potential moat. I love moats. And maybe another section functioning as a self-sustaining mini fortress, aka a citadel, you know, the last line of defense type of thing, and would have helped keep the villagers safe, even the poor innocent kids. But since they're too freaking peaceful for their own good, there's another way they could have saved the prince, and it has to do with the village's defenses. For starters, don't you think it might have been a better idea to have more than one man up on the watchtower? Yeah, I would think so, because then it would have allowed them to signal to the village and said, hey, there's a problem coming, at a much faster rate, because it's clear that even if this watchtower spotted something, he would have been way too slow to warn them fast enough. Ashitaka has to stupidly go after a demon by himself, and this means that Ashitaka from the get-go should have been less patriotic and thinking more critically about his actions, because he's the prince. He's way more important than some snotty-nosed kids here who just happen to eat, sleep, and chill on the taxpayer's dime, which makes them bigger, wasteful citizens. If I was him, I would have taken the useless scout with me earlier to use as a helping hand, and would have slowed the monster down by letting him feed on the souls of these stupid kids here. And during this moment, I would have fired some shots into the monster like the stud that I view myself to be, and naturally I will expect it to react in pain. It's gonna try to attack us, and right at that moment we're gonna toss our useless scout right at it because he is useless, which will keep it distracted for a moment longer and allow me to fire the killing shot and take it out for good. Later that night, Ashitaka heads to the shaman but receives bad news. Using her powers, she tells him that the boar god came from the west and was infected by some kind of poison that drove him mad, and they find this iron bullet inside of his corpse, and this was the reason he was in so much pain and why he eventually turned into a demon. Rage and anger caused this. But Ashitaka has little time to figure out her cryptic talking, and he discovers that the injury on his arm is cursed, and soon the infection will spread and brutally peel the flesh off of his bones, killing him, unless he sets off on an adventure and does one thing: follow where the boar god came from and head west and be set free from hate. But once he does this, he has a 30% chance of lifting his curse. But before he goes, she warns him that something evil is at work where he's going, and once he leaves because of their village rules, he may never return there. Gee, aren't they nice? Thank you for your service, man. Now get out. But Ashitaka gets sad for like 10 anime seconds and leaves, and he bumps into his sister on the way out, who gives him her crystal dagger to remember her, and then he sets off to save his soul. Retracing the boar god's steps, he soon passes by a village right in the middle of an all-out massacre of women, children, men screaming, and decapitation, and a lot of galore, and a whole lot of Genghis Khan level of horror. On alert, these evil soldiers spot him, forcing him to haul ass. He quickly whips out his bow and arrow to save this innocent villager, but something happens to his infected arm, just as he fires this arrow straight into this enemy soldier, blowing his hands clean off with an impossible shot, shocking him and everyone around him with his superhuman strength, and he now realizes that he's actually turning into a demon. Well, what Ashitaka here just felt is a sign of a much bigger and more deadly problem, and a problem that he is not thinking about, and it has to do with the zombie antivirus and how we really are basically designed like bugs. I'll explain. The shaman he talked to seemed to know him, but in that case, him leaving to try and cure his curse was way too dumb. The least he could have done was to ask the shaman more questions about what he could expect from this disease, since in this case, the disease was happening happening inside a human and not an animal. Duh! You'd think they might have put that together, because it makes logical sense to assume that the incoming symptoms would not necessarily be the same as it was for the boar. The curse is low-key magic, but also seems crazy familiar to a real-life fungus disease called the zombie ant fungus. And this thing mind controls insects and basically turns them into a zombie, Last of Us style. However, this thing can actually affect humans as well, because we actually share a crazy amount of our physiology with insects. But the way it would happen inside of our bodies is a little different, and our higher internal body temperature, which means that this and other viruses that killed the boar just now would probably kill us instead, since our body would be too hot and too complex for the virus to go zombie mode on us. Stopping at another village, he tries to get some food, offering this woman gold instead of money, and this attracts the attention of this man named Jigo. He follows Ashitaka and tells him that he saw him earlier fighting like a demon, but he tells him, oh no, he won't tell anybody, and offers to cook him dinner, not revealing at all that he will soon cost Ashitaka the lives of everyone that he's about to meet. There he updates Jigo on his situation and where he's going. He then shows him the iron ball he found inside of the boar god, and Jigo tells him what he's up against. There's a giant forest west of here where a powerful spirit lives and looks after all of the animals that live there. Ancient forest gods, bigger than a horse carriage and more powerful than a battleship. It's a dangerous place for humans, and he warns Ashitaka that if his curse doesn't kill him, the forest there might. But if he survives, he might be able to get rid of this curse. The next morning, Ashitaka thanks Jigo and heads off, while Jigo watches him with sinister intent. A little later, elsewhere, this group of villagers try to transport some rice into their town, Iron Town. How original. But that was also their biggest mistake. Howls are heard, and they spot incoming wolves headed their way. Massive creatures. The humans quickly realize they're about to fight what they've all came for, the gods of the forest. They quickly fire their weapons, forcing the wolves to split apart, and this one rushes through their human defenses and throws the men off the cliff, and they head straight for the leader, this woman. But she quickly aims her gun and fires at the monster, chasing it off for good, allowing the group to go back to transporting their rice. So at the bottom of this cliff, Ashitaka bumps into some of the fallen soldiers from the wolf battle, seeing them critically injured, and he tries to rescue them but senses something dangerous nearby. Going to check it out, he realizes that these animals are gods and spots one human with them, this girl. Getting spotted, he comes out and declares that he will not harm them and asks if he has now reached the realm of the forest spirit. But this girl just tells him to piss off and disappears into the forest. And that's when screams are heard, and he rushes to the aid of these men and sees them freaking out over this little creature, but he tells them to chill out because this creature is known as a Kodama spirit to bring good luck and are a sign that this forest is healthy. Good to know. But this injured soldier here is still tense and worries that this thing will bring the leader of the forest to them. And Ashitaka's ears perk up and asks, what does he mean? The creature that runs this forest looks like a giant deer that sometimes has the face of a human, but he thinks these soldiers are talking a little crazy, and he has no idea that this giant deer is gonna kill thousands very soon. Using his tracking skills, him and the injured men make their way through the dangerous forest, and he spots the girl and the wolves' tracks nearby, signaling that they must live close by too. And that's when he sees a deer in the distance, but something is off about it. His arm starts freaking out uncontrollably and forces him to put it into the water to calm down. And he looks back up, but sees nothing. Where did it go? He carries on with his journey, but then he realizes that the man he's carrying suddenly doesn't feel heavy anymore. And that's when they reach the soldiers' village named Iron Town. And there all the townspeople show up, finding out that Ashitaka here is a hero, and they cheer for him, and Lady Eboshi, the town ruler, comes out to greet him, and she thanks him for saving her men and asks to come talk to her later tonight. That night, Ashitaka rests up and talks to the other townsfolk while the ladies ogle at him because he's a stud. The men here tell him that Lady Eboshi went around buying up all the contracts of all the brothel workers nearby, now spoils all of them rotten. She's trying to make this town even more famous than it is for its high quality iron. But some of the men complain that everything has gone to shit since she took over, warning Ashitaka that she has no fear against the gods of the forest, and since the iron around them has been used up, she started deforesting the nearby area to extract more of it, pissing off forest gods like Nago and other animals. This information suddenly makes Ashitaka's arm burn in pain, and he thinks this means that Nago, the boar god he met earlier, must have died with hate in his heart. Okay, wow. So Lady Eboshi here just exhibited the cardinal mistake of what she's trying to achieve. She just exhibited two big red flags that make her goals stupid as hell. She could have avoided all of this if she just treated her environment like a small office cubicle. Let me explain. The number one red flag that we just discovered about Lady Eboshi relates to an old 16th century guide on how to be a true leader and gain power of a country. It's from the book The Prince. It's a good book. And one of its most famous sayings is that the best fortress is to be found in the love of the people, because the fortress will not save you if you are hated by the people. And this means that Lady Eboshi here, as the leader of Iron Town, has already failed to gain support and trust of her people. It means even her forces are not aligned and secure in helping her achieve her goals. And now on to red flag number 2. It's got to do with Lady Eboshi's lack of fear towards the forest and what it's capable of. It's clear as a leader she's not able to peacefully coexist with nature, and means that that her kingdom is living on borrowed time. Let's imagine Lady Eboshi and her people are working in an office, and the forest is their powerful boss. Her and her people are coexisting in the same space as someone much more influential and powerful than her. And her crazy willingness to go above and beyond the call of duty to try and make the boss look bad by destroying the boss is a direct example of her trying to outshine the boss. Being Ashitaka here, we just witnessed 2 big red flags in the span of a 2-minute conversation with this crazy lady, which means I'm gonna just nod and smile and play nice and don't waste any more time hearing what Lady Eboshi has to say, because I want to be on my way out of here ASAP. Going to meet Lady Eboshi, she tells him that this town is constantly under attack from people trying to steal their iron, oh boo-hoo, and they think he's either a spy for Wolf Girl or he works for the neighboring enemies, Lord Asano's samurai army. But he confesses that he's here because of this demon mark and takes out the iron bullet that he found in the boar god and tells her it belongs to her people. And she laughs at him and tells him she'll show them what her people are really up to, and shows him her private garden, and reveals that she is developing the most advanced weapons on Earth in order to kill the forest gods and Lord Asano's samurai army and any others that try and stop her from what she's trying to achieve, world domination. So Ashitaka gets a little bit pissed off at her for being so freaking destructive, and she tells him that she's sorry her shit got him cursed. But too bad, it's just business. And that's when Ashitaka's arm starts violently twitching again and forces him to reach for his sword. And this makes everyone think that the forest wants to kill Lady Eboshi really badly. And that's when this old guy joins in on the conversation and says that while Lady Eboshi is not perfect, she's the only one that saw their kind, lepers, as human beings and was the only one who took them in to care for them. And Lady Eboshi then offers Ashitaka a job and says he should stay here and help her kill the forest spirits, because this will cause all the other gods of the forest to turn back into regular animals. And without any deficiencies, she will then be able to claim the richest land on Earth. And she also tells Ashitaka that the princess of the forest, known as Princess Mononoke, will also turn back into a human. Okay, so what Lady Eboshi is doing right now is will not only destroy the planet, because that's such a great idea, it's even going to destroy the iron industry which her town relies on. Great. Lady Eboshi is clearly not thinking again. She's just trying to kill the god of the forest, and she's also trying to destroy the forest to make a quick buck. Her thinking is similar to what happened in a small town in the Amazon rainforest. Years ago, like 1973 years ago. It was near this highway, BR 319. Basically, society built a town there with a 550-mile road connecting this town to the largest city in the Amazon. But within just a few years, nature took this whole town back. Jaguars, anacondas, deadly snakes, severe levels of malaria, and rainfall never seen before all showed up out of nowhere, causing most of the citizens to escape and claiming that it seemed like nature was fighting back. And to this day, this town has been a living nightmare, and it's an example of how nature is actually way more powerful than we think. Lady Eboshi destroying the forest is going to affect her in ways that she cannot even imagine in her small brain. For comparison, once the Amazon rainforest goes, boom, instantly these 9 countries are going to become unlivable. And then boom, this affects the world's water cycle and carbon balance, because the Amazon can hold 12 years worth of world global emissions. And then once that goes, boom, Greenland ice sheet is now gone, and now boom, sea levels are rising, and boom, more water causes degradation of frozen soil in the Arctic. And then boom, and this is going to release dormant scary diseases that we're not prepared for to be unleashed. And then boom, rain is now 25% lower. Boom, temperature is up by 4.5 Celsius, and boom, this causes rain in other places to stop. And then boom, abnormal dry patterns of dry air moving, mixing up with wetter, cooler air from the south, causing boom, places like the Gulf of Mexico to get wetter than Kiaro's sex, you know what, in Reduel of the Healer. The point is, that's 11 booms, guys. That's a lot of booms. This means that if Lady Eboshi gets rid of the land that she's living on and makes money off of, so much that shit is gonna go south. And especially since this forest is magical. And we all know that magic makes everything go boom way more. That's now 12 booms. He then heads back downstairs, but then he hears something approaching them fast. It's Wolf Girl. And the alarm goes off and the town starts preparing its defenses. But Wolf Girl quickly avoids getting shot and hops over the massive wall. My, how impressive. Anyways, the villagers yell out that she is after Lady Eboshi, and Ashitaka rushes to stop her just as she gets shot and falls off the roof. Running to protect her, she ignores his help and lunges at Lady Eboshi, and the two duke it out some. Wolf Girl says that she needs to die for destroying her forest, while the townsfolk around her tell her to die for killing their people as well. And both sides get heated, and Ashitaka finally gets mad and approaches the two women. The town captain here thinks Ashitaka is a traitor and tries to kill him, and that's what activates his powers once again. And then he easily walks past him and knocks both of the women out. He yells out that both of these women have extreme anger within them, and their anger and fear is only making the demon curse inside him grow stronger, and he hands Lady Eboshi to the townsfolk and tells them that he will be leaving and taking the Wolf Girl with him. And they try to stop him and even shoot him, but his powers keep him going, and he shocks everyone. He opened the front gate with just one hand. He tells the wolves waiting outside to chill out because he's trying to save Wolf Girl. Thanking the townsfolk for sheltering him, they ride off. Clearing enough distance between them and the town, Ashitaka finally passes out because of blood loss, and that's when Wolf Girl wakes up and she yells at her wolves to not touch him, but angrily asks him why he tried to save her. He then says he didn't want them to kill her and comments on how beautiful beautiful she is, freaking her out. And just then, the ape tribe of the forest show up and declare that they want to eat Ashitaka in order to gain his human strength and chase the other humans out of the forest. Wolf Girl tells them to calm down, but they refuse, telling her that they tried repopulating the area with more trees and it hasn't worked. And now they're running out of time. She tells them that the forest spirit will save them, but they think she's delusional, and they comment on how she doesn't understand because she's human at the end of the day. And this pisses off the wolves as they chase the apes away. Wolf Girl then tells her wolves to also go home while she takes Ashitaka to the forest to heal him. Nearby, Ashitaka's friend from earlier, Jigo, sits hiding with his men in animal costumes. Well, apparently they've been tracking the forest spirit to figure out where it lives. Seeing it for the first time, the men get scared, but Jigo tells them to sack up because the Emperor of Japan wants its head, and they carefully watch it transform from its alien body into this deer, and it begins to approach Wolf Girl and the unconscious Ashitaka as they reach the area. But suddenly Jigo's men see a boar god near that they recognize named Okoto, thinking this god has been dead for 100 years. Jigo and his men run from the scene in fear. A little later, Ashitaka wakes up and realizes that his bullet wound is gone. Well, that's great, but not his curse. Crap. Wolf Girl comes back and he finds out from her that she can talk to animals, and finds out from his pet Yakul everything about him and where he comes from. She tells him that the forest spirit brought him back to life, which means it wants him to live for some reason. And just then the wolves show up but circle them to protect them against an incoming threat, the boar gods. Showing up, they demand to know why the forest spirit just saved the human when it didn't even save their own kind. The wolves tell them that the forest spirit knows best, but they think that's cap, yo, and think that the wolf girl convinced the forest spirit to save the human. Barely awake. Ashitaka tells them that he was the one that killed their kind back in his village named Nago, but when he found him, he had turned into a full-on demon and doesn't know why the forest spirit saved him, since he will soon die anyways from the curse on his arm. And that's when the boss of the boar gods named Okoto shows back up and senses that Ashitaka isn't lying about what happened to their own kind. He thanks him for putting Nago out of his misery, but tells him to leave the forest or else the next time he won't show him any mercy. Wolf Girl's mother named Moro tells Okoto that their kind can't win against the humans, but Okoto is stubborn and says they must still try even if they're heading into a trap. He knows the wolves won't help him, and he tells them to stay out of their way while they prepare for the greatest battle that this forest has ever seen. As he heads off, Ashitaka finds out Wolf Girl's real name, San. Elsewhere, Lady Eboshi is working on fighting their latest ongoing rival, the samurai army, trying to take over their town for their iron. Lady Eboshi uses her latest weaponry to chase them away. For the 400th time this month, Jigo and his men watch this fight and begin to plan something sinister. He heads back to meet up with Lady Eboshi after the battle and whines to her that the Emperor is breathing down his neck about calling a truce with Lord Asano's samurai. But she tells him that if she calls truce, then she will have to offer up half her iron, and she thinks he's up to something, and he assures her that he's on her side because they have bigger problems than humans, because he heard that the boars are preparing for battle against their town, and he gets impatient and tells her that she owes him for lending her his troops in exchange for going after the forest spirit because legend says its head can grant the powers of immortality. She makes fun of them for thinking such a power could even exist, and this annoys Jigo and forces him to politely threaten her and possibly take away his troops if she doesn't start following the plan, not trusting him. She later informs her ladies that they might soon get betrayed when she's not around, and just in case they should prepare for battle. Elsewhere, while San rests, Ashitaka asks Moro, "Why can't we all get along?" But Moro tells him the humans destroy everything they touch. He then finds out that San will most likely die in the coming war, which pisses him off a lot because he thinks she's cute. He wonders how she could let her own daughter die. But Moro tells him that since she is a part of the forest, once the forest dies, so will she, and warns him to leave her since he will soon die and now can't do anything anyways. In the morning, while San and Moro are out on a mission, he gets ready to leave but hands one of the wolves his necklace to give to San. Elsewhere, San and Moro reach Lady Eboshi's army and check out what they're up to, seeing smoke filling the area, and Moro thinks they're trying to mess with the animal smells before the boars attack. She mentions the humans are setting up an obvious trap, but the boars are too proud to back down and will attack no matter what, even their leader, Okoto. Okay, y'all boars are being a bit of an idiot. I would solve all of our problems by appealing to the boars' self-interest. Listen, the boars won't listen because, as Moro said, they're a proud race due to their massive ego, or as it is known in psychology as high ego strength. This, my good weebs, is a concept that refers to a person's ability to deal with their problems, stress, and recover from setbacks. Having a strong ego helps us to manage emotional stability and deal with internal and external stress in our lives without resorting to unhealthy coping mechanisms. You know, having one too many beers and certain substances. However, people with well-developed ego strength tend to share several essential characteristics. 1, they're confident in their ability to deal with challenges. 2, they're good at coming up with solutions to life's problems. And they have a high level of emotional intelligence and are able to successfully regulate their emotions even in tough situations. In this case, however, since the boars don't know how to deal with the problem they're facing, they're willing to die and achieve nothing. And this means that their high ego is bordering on self-delusion and will be the cause of their own destruction. Which is the problem if you ask me. I might might as well make their lives valuable in some way. If I was Moro, I would tell them that since they're willing to die if it means killing the humans, I would tell them, I'm not gonna stop you, but let's do it in a way that causes more humans to die. Because I don't care about my own race. I don't care about you guys either. But if you're going to die, you might as well die and be more effective about it. I would create a better plan of attack against Lady Eboshi. Since they have many boars, by utilizing guerrilla warfare, hit and run attacks, that would be much better suited for them. Yes, I know the boars are a strong, prideful race, but if it means more humans die at the cost of each one of their own lives, I think they might bend a little bit to my way of thinking. Since the humans have the advantage of long-range weaponry and home field advantage with the way they have set up their defenses, which means there is no reason to let them die for no reason. We'll let them die, but not for no reason. Moro spots the humans also cutting down trees, telling San that this will make the boars more angry and not think clearly. But San decides to go help Okoto and to be his eyes, because she, just like Ashitaka, she doesn't want to give up, and suddenly another wolf reaches her and hands her the necklace from Ashitaka, making her all cute and cuddly and adorable, and Moro then commands these wolves to stay with San while she goes to see the forest spirit. Splitting up, San passes by the boar army charging in and finds out where she can find Okoto, heading off to see him. Elsewhere, Ashitaka goes to meet Lady Eboshi, but suddenly hears gunshots coming from the opposite direction, where Iron Town is, and it's really weird. Rushing there, he sees the town under attack by Lord Asano's army. Rushing in to help, he finds out from Lady Eboshi's women that they got surprised while their leader was off fighting the boars, and now they can't send out a messenger to warn her. So what do? They hand him his weapon and tell them that he better go and help while they hold out. But on the way there, a samurai arrow strikes down Yakul, causing Ashitaka's hand to start transforming, changing him inside. The enemy shoots an arrow straight at him, but he suddenly catches it and sends it right back, reaching the battle between the humans and the boars. He smells the rotting flesh, thousands of corpses, and he tells the Iron Town soldiers that their town is being attacked. They tell him that only Lady Eboshi can signal them to head back, but she left into the forest to hunt down the forest spirit. The guy reveals that Lady Eboshi is actually being used by Jigo, and they also saw wolves earlier along with the wolf girl San. Just then, Ashitaka finds one of San's wolves trapped under the pile of corpses. He rushes to try and save him, and this Iron Town general thinks he's a traitor and tries to murder him, but Ashitaka's friends turned against him and help him free the wolf. About to head after Lady Eboshi and San, this villager warns him that her men belong to Jigo and may try to kill him. Leaving Yakul with these people, he tells the wolf to go and find San while he finds Lady Eboshi. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, San tries to rescue Okoto, but sees him critically injured trying to reach the forest spirit for help. She then senses something coming and spots Jigo's men in boar flesh camouflage. Being blind and unable to smell the humans, Okoto gets excited and thinks, yay, my warriors have come to help me! But nope, that's not it. With the last of his strength, he starts charging towards the forest spirit. San begs him to stop and tells him he's actually leading the humans to the forest spirit, but Okoto doesn't listen. The wolf warns San that he is done for and they should abandon him, but San refuses and tells the wolf to go tell her mother Moro that the humans are after the forest spirit because she will know what to do. Okoto finally collapses in exhaustion and she hears a wolf howl nearby, signaling that Ashitaka is close. The bad guys quickly surround Okoto and try to stab him to make him get up, force him to cry out in pain, and he begins turning into a demon. San tries to stop him, but she gets hit with a sleeping dart, making her collapse onto him, getting absorbed into his transforming demon flesh. Nearby, Ashitaka hears San's wolf call out to them that San is in danger. Rushing in to find her, he passes by Lady Eboshi and her men, and he tells her that Lord Asano's samurai are attacking Iron Town, but she tells him the girls can handle themselves because she's headed for the forest spirit. Ashitaka warns her that most of her men have now left her side to head back, and everyone here is actually secretly on Jigo's side. She thinks he's lying and tells him they've already reached the lake where the forest spirit is, and it's too late to turn back now. Crap. Ashitaka then finds Moro on her deathbed, and he calls out for San and hears her call back, but something is wrong. The floor begins to rumble as Okoto approaches him, but is now a full-on demon and sees the humans in disguises behind him. They threaten Ashitaka to leave so the forest spirit will come towards them, but he calls their bluff, telling them if they try to harm him, they will scare the forest spirit away anyways. He calls out to San and rushes in to save her while nearly getting shot, as he's noble like that. San's wolves quickly rush to cover Ashitaka, giving him enough time to bum rush Okoto, but he easily gets overpowered and flung into the lake. Okay, that didn't turn out as much as I thought it would. Now with no choice, Moro uses the last bit of her strength to attack Otoko and save San, while her wolves push back the humans, and suddenly they spot the forest spirit in the distance approaching them. No, don't do that! Using this opportunity, Lady Eboshi fires her gun at it, but it keeps walking towards Otoko and Moro, and it sets them free. With its job done, it begins transforming into this other horrifying creature, but Lady Eboshi shoots one final time, blowing off its head. Jigo's men quickly capture the head, and its body explodes everywhere. Moro's head jumps out to bite Lady Eboshi's arm off, while everybody tries to escape the area before the forest spirit kills them. Meanwhile, with Ashitaka, he wakes up underneath the water and tells them they need to get to the island San brought him to earlier, since water will slow the forest spirit down. Jumping into the water and taking San to the island, he tells her that her wolf mother has already avenged her and she should now try to, move on. He tells Lady Eboshi that he promised her town that he would return her her, and he promises to do just that, begging San to help. She gets mad and thinks he's helping the humans, but he breaks her mind and tells her that she's human. What a shocker, and suddenly convinces her to help them, because that makes sense. The forest spirit begins swallowing up the entire forest, looking for its head. Ashitaka and San quickly reach Irontown and warn the people that they're screwed and they need to escape to the lake, because if the forest spirit goo touches them, they're all dead. Him and San rush off to catch Jigo mid-escape, but he tells them that by sunrise the forest spirit will vanish forever, so they just need to hold on to its head until then. But however, Ashitaka says nah and tries to fight him, and everyone quickly realizes that they're now cornered and about to die. Well, despite their good efforts, they went about this really dumb. There was no reason to cut it as close as they did. Cause look, when Ashitaka, my boy, went to warn Irontown, he stopped to warn the girls about the incoming forest. That stupid took over 19 seconds before leaving to go to stop Jigo. During this time, if I was him, since we're chatting about our life story anyway, we may as well ask the Irontown girls to throw us some weaponry. You know, they got guns. They could probably spare us a few. They'd clear access to it since they were in the middle of a major battle. Having weaponry in the first place would have allowed us to take out Jigo and his men from further distances away. I would love to get this conflict over and done with really quickly, because I like that way better than being chased by an all-out god. So every second matters. At their last stand, Ashitaka manages to steal the head from Jigo and return it at the last minute, causing the spirit god to come crashing down on them, causing a big explosion. It's a whole lot of mess everywhere. The sun rises and it collapses on Irontown, but destroying the nature of the forest as well. A little later, Ashitaka and San wake up and see the forest back to its original glory. My gosh, it fixes itself up quickly. She tells him that the forest spirit is dead, but he says that it lives on in the forest and blah blah blah. He also notices that his curse on his hand is finally gone, which makes everyone happy-ish. They decide to part ways, and San will go back to live in the forest, while Ashitaka here decides to stay in Irontown to help them rebuild because he's stupid. But he warns her that he'll visit her often and makes her low-key excited. But meanwhile, deep in the forest, one little Kodama pops up, signaling that this forest will soon come back to its healthy, old, creepy self. But what do you guys think about the video? Let us know what you like about it and what you didn't like about it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. And as always, don't forget to check out our How to Beat playlist.